Okay, Ms. Sturkenberg, thanks for being available. We have Mr. Larry Baker. And Mr. Baker, I'm Judge Sara Smolenski. I'm at the 63rd District Court. We're located at Knapp and the Beltline. And this is what's called an arraignment. On your file, D20-02499FY, where an arraignment is when you first hear what you're charged with, what the possible penalties are, and what your rights are. They're indicating that you are charged with possession of a firearm by a felon. And they're saying that you possessed a firearm on or about September 14, just say a month ago, at an address in Plainfield Township, when it's ineligible for you to do so because of a prior conviction for a drug-related felony, a felony that at the time was punishable by imprisonment of 4 or more years, and the requirements for regaining eligibility had not been met. This current felony of possession of a firearm by a felon is a 5-year felony in and of itself. That means the possible penalty, Mr. Baker, can be up to 5 years in prison and or $5,000 fine and a mandatory forfeiture of the weapon. Now you have the right, Mr. Baker, to remain silent. You don't need to say anything about the details of the case. Anything you say, orally or in writing, can be used against you in court. You do have the right to have a lawyer present during any questioning that you consent to. And if you could not afford to hire your own lawyer, the court would have to appoint a lawyer for you and would appoint a lawyer for you, where some of the expense is passed on to you for the court-appointed attorney. In your current case, they've got 2 dates set up, October 28 and November 4. They're both Wednesdays, and they're both set at 10:45 in the morning. The first appointment on October 28, Wednesday, 2 weeks from yesterday, is called a probable cause conference, where you and your attorney that's assigned to you in the case, or your attorney that you hire, would have a chance to talk and discuss the case and the details of the case and discuss the case with the prosecuting attorney. Then you'd have to make a determination whether you need to have a preliminary exam. That's the second date they give you, November 4, a Wednesday at 10:45. A hearing where the prosecutor has to present evidence to show, 1, that a crime was committed, 2, that there exists probable cause to believe you committed the offense. And they're talking about the possession of a weapon by a felon. Now, so far, Mr. Baker, do you have any questions for me?
No, Your Honor.
Is that Mayfield apartment complex where you live?
Yes.
And can you get mail there?
Yes.
When you turned yourself into the Kent County Jail, was that just recently?
This morning, Your Honor.
Okay. And did you turn yourself in at the request of somebody, or how did you hear about this case? How did you know it was pending?
Well, the detective called me and told me it was pending, and I went in and hired an attorney. And he told me let him deal with it. When he get a call from somebody, then he'll have me turn myself in. And so I guess he got a call.
Was that Mr. Kirchhoff?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Jeffrey Kirchhoff did contact our court. He was going to try to Zoom in today, but evidently was not able to Zoom in. I'm not sure entirely. But Amanda Sturkenberg is with the Michigan Indigent Defense Council, had a chance to briefly talk to you ahead of time. And Ms. Sturkenberg, if there's anything you want to say, you can speak.
Thank you, Your Honor. I did speak with Mr. Baker, and he did share with me his relationship with Attorney Kirchhoff. I told him if Mr. Kirchhoff were present, I would defer to him. But we did chat in the event that Mr. Kirchhoff was not here. And I don't have the benefit of reviewing a pre-bond report, but Mr. Baker was transparent with me he shared with me some of the good things in his life that include he's been employed for almost 2 years at the same place. It is a gluten-free product manufacturing plant in the city of Kentwood. And he was just promoted yesterday to team lead, which is exciting. So he's got motivation to succeed in life. He's got ties to the community, has 4 children, and lives with his girlfriend. I'd ask the court, while I know the court is concerned about public safety and the prior record, that the court consider a low 10% bond to allow Mr. Baker to continue in his employment and to resolve this through the aid of Mr. Kirchhoff. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sturkenberg. Mr. Baker, tell me exactly what that employment is.
It's called the gluten-free bar. We make protein bites, protein bars, and bags of oatmeal. It's all gluten-free product.
Where is it located?
It's located at 4053 Brockton, Southeast.
And do you go into the plant? Is that what your job is every day? You're there?
Yep.
Okay. And when you got off of parole, that was a few months back, the springtime. You have no other cases pending anywhere right now?
None, Your Honor.
And this incident, September 14, well, I don't want to get into the details of the allegation of the weapon, but it was really the police coming to your house on a completely separate matter because of the child, correct?
Yep.
And I don't know the details of what happened with that, but it wasn't good, was it?
No.
I'm so sorry what you've had to go through and what your family's had to go through. It's got to be very, very difficult. You got to talk to Mr. Kirchhoff, because this isn't like one of those scenarios where you're driving along and you're pulled over in a car.
Yeah.
This is they come to your house when somebody had called 911 because the baby was in peril.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And how many other kids live there besides that child?
2, Your Honor.
And what are their
2, 6,
ages?
6. They twins, Your Honor.
Oh, 6-year-old twins. Okay.
Yep.
Now, after talking to Mr. Kirchhoff, and I don't know how much detail you guys got into, but when you made the decision to turn yourself in, you knew there'd be a bond. Fair?
Yep.
Have you been able to look into, either with your wife, family members, employer, have you been able to look into whether somebody's going to be able to come up with some money to get you out? They're not right off the bat. They're not right off the bat recommending a PR bond. Just because of your past history, the record, the prior felonies, the prison time, they just automatically recommend no PR, which just means personal recognizance. So when you chose to turn yourself in, I wondered if you'd made any arrangements to try to get some money together, knowing that there would be a bond.
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Okay, do this then. I'm going to have you, they'll let you use the phone when you can there at the jail. And maybe Mr. Kirchhoff can be in contact with you as well, because if he's going to represent you on this case, he'll be contacting our court. You got to tell him about those 2 dates, October 28 and November 4. Because if he is going to be your attorney, which he's very capable of, and he's out here all the time, so we deal with Mr. Kirchhoff, he has a lot of experience. But you need to tell him about the dates you got on this. I'm going to make your bond a $5,000 10% bond, which requires $500.
Okay.
Call who you can to get your money together. We enter a plea of not guilty. My intention is not to have you sit in jail for weeks. I'm hoping you can make that bond, and it's about as low as I can go on this kind of a charge with your past history. But we'll say not guilty, and I ask you not to be involved. This is pretty standard, and I say that to everybody. No criminal activity. So I tell people, don't be involved in any criminal activity. Like if you don't have a driver's license, don't drive a car or whatever. I'm just saying. No criminal activity. So right now, you got fingerprinted when you went to the jail yesterday or this morning.
Yep.
So you remember the dates, October 28, November 4.
And 4th, yep.
Yep. And you call Mr. Kirchhoff as soon as you get out so you can tell him the dates and what's going on, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you for your courtesy, Mr. Baker.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
Jeremy, do you say your last name Farrow?
This is Mr. York, Your Honor.
Oh, sorry. Hold on a second. Brian York?
Yes.
My apologies. Mr. York, I've got 3 different files to talk to you about, and I want to make sure that we get it chronologically. I'm Judge Sara Smolenski, and I'm at the 63rd District Court. And the oldest case we have with you is from 2018, and it's a driving suspended ticket, failing to stop and identify after a property damage accident, an accident where you got ticketed for failing to yield. There's a bunch of monies owed on that old one. That was the accident that was at South Division in Camelot in 2018, the summer, August. There's $718 that's still outstanding, $718, just on that case. It technically was due at the end of the year 2019. We're darn close to the end of 2020. You were in custody at some point around Thanksgiving last year, but we've never had the monies finalized on that case. Then we had 2 more cases in 2019. One was March 24, driving suspended with a 2003 GMC near the 28th Street in Patterson location, getting a warning on the expired plate on the GMC, but getting a ticket on the criminal misdemeanor called driving on a suspended license. You came through the court on that case and you saw the magistrate and you pled not guilty. You were in custody at the time. You gave us an address of 6119 Skipton. Is that still good?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were in custody, I don't know if you had other business, but you pled not guilty to this case, the case I'm talking about, driving suspended in the GMC vehicle, Patterson and 28th. Do you know how you forgot to come back and deal with that? Like missed pretrial appointments? What happened?
At the time, I wasn't working, so I just felt like I didn't have the money to pay, and that I would go to jail, and I really couldn't afford to go to jail because I had my kids.
Okay, I appreciate your honesty on that, Mr. York. It's not that you forgot about the ticket. You just didn't think you had the resources to take care of it. So in essence, you avoided it, you ignored it, you never came to court on it.
Yes.
All right. It was about 8 months later that you got ticketed again. Same thing. November 13 last year. November 13 of 2019 on a driving suspended, but a different vehicle. This was a 2014 Chevy. The area was South Division and 68th Street. I'm guessing, don't know for sure, you might remember, I'm guessing you were physically taken into custody on that because you still had the old case, they would have run your name. True?
Yes.
So when you went to jail back in November on that case from a year ago, how do we go forward to October of 2020, a year later, and you haven't dealt with it? Do you know?
Well, recently I've contacted the court to deal with it, but I had got two different prices. When I contacted the court a couple weeks ago, they said I only owe $400, but then when I got online, it was 2 cases. That was when I checked online, it was 2 cases. So I was just kind of confused about the situation. But I have been trying to reach out to start a payment plan because I'm working now consistently.
But let me say this. The ticket I'm talking about, there's no monies owed because you've never finalized it. The only case that the money is owed on is that old case I was talking about that goes back to 2018, in the 2018 Dodge automobile with the car accident. The car accident that was at Division in Camelot. That's the only case we have right now where you owe money. The other two cases, both driving suspendeds, never have been pled to. So there's no fine that you owe yet, because we still said not guilty for you on both cases, but you never have come to court to deal with them. So tell me this, when you're in custody right now, when did you go to jail and what was it for?
Yesterday, I went to jail yesterday, but Wyoming. I was driving on my way home from work.
So you were in the city of Wyoming when you get pulled over by a police officer?
No, they be in my area, but where I live at.
Yeah. So like you're coming home from work, you're in a car.
Yes.
Do you get home or do you not get home?
No, I didn't make it home. I was on my way home and he pulled me over.
So are you stopped by a police officer in your car?
Yes. Yes.
And when they stop you yesterday, what was the stop for? What did you get, a ticket? No ticket? What happened?
They gave me a ticket for driving with no license. Driving with suspended license.
Okay. So you know the Wyoming case from yesterday is a completely different charge than what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So whatever you got to deal with Wyoming on the new case, you got to deal with them. With us, I'm just telling you, you've got 2 driving suspended criminal misdemeanors. You've said not guilty to them before, but we've never had you deal with them. So they're not done. They're still pending. We call it pending. Driving suspended is a misdemeanor. Possible penalty is up to 93 days in jail, up to $500 fine, 2 points on your license, the way the Secretary of State gives you points. You'd have the right to plead guilty or not guilty, have the right to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, have the right to have an attorney. If you couldn't afford an attorney, the court could appoint one for you. Then you have to pay the expense of a court-appointed attorney. We still continue to say not guilty on both your tickets, but I'm trying to explain that the cases are not over. And I appreciate that over the last, month, you've called a couple of times and you're checking into it, thinking you owe money, but really, on these 2 cases, there's not monies owed because they're still pending. You have never pled guilty to either one of them. Now, you got a whole nother case out of Wyoming, and you're going to have to deal with that. Go ahead.
So I have a question. Now, you said I owe on one, so can I set up a payment plan for that one?
It'd be helpful. You've got 3 total. 2 are unfinished, 1 is done, but monies is owed. So the one from 2018 is the one I'm saying you owe money on. And it's $718. I don't have a problem with you setting up a payment plan. Let me ask you this. Did Wyoming let you out of jail? What are they doing?
They gave me a PR bond.
Yeah. So here's my point. I've got 1 case from 2018 you pled guilty to and it's done. That's the one with the car accident. Then we've got the 2 cases from 2019 with us. Driving suspended. You've never pled to those. They're still pending. If I let you out, which I am going to do, you have got to appear at our court or call the number to Zoom in to deal with these once and for all. Because if you fail to appear again, and your judge is Judge O'Hara, my colleague, he's not going to let you out of jail. Because we've got a case from 2018, not done. 2 cases from 2019, not done. And now a new case that you have with Wyoming. So I get that you want to set up a payment plan, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm going to make both of the cases from 2019 that are pending $1,000 PR bond. So you'll be released on that. I'm telling you, by the end of the year, it's October, mid-October right now, the 15th. End of the year of 2020, you got to have that 718 paid. I won't keep you in jail for it, but seriously, if any of your cases, these other two or the one in Wyoming, if any of them turn out that you're going to be incarcerated at all, I don't know if you will or not, I'm just saying, look into that, because you don't want to, I mean, if I knew that you're in Wyoming locked up on a case, well, of course you can't do what you need to do for us. You'd have to let us know that. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But when you have multiple cases, now 4, 1 done with us, 2 pending, and 1 pending in Wyoming. I mean, seriously, I'm just being honest, Mr. York. It doesn't look great. You know, you're either driving or you're not. You either have a license or you're not. Do the figures, try to figure it out, but deal with your cases. Because if you just leave them open like this, you get bench warrant, bench warrant, bench warrant. You're going to be arrested every time you turn around.
Yes, Your
Okay,
Honor.
any questions for me?
No.
All set then. Thanks a lot. Don't ignore any of it. Call the court, talk to somebody, get some advice, figure out what you need to do. And if you need an attorney, tell us. I'll appoint an attorney for you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, that's it. Are you Jeremy?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you say your last name Farrow?
Yes, correct.
Mr.
1 out of
Farrow?
100 you got.
I got it. That's how I would pronounce it. I didn't know for sure, but I am talking to you because this is called an arraignment. And an arraignment is the first time that you come before the court, even on the video or Zoom, to hear what it is you're charged with, what the possible penalties are, what your rights are. They're talking about an arrest yesterday. They're talking about York Creek, Yorkland Drive, 4 Mile Road, Alpine Township, that area. They're talking about a 10-year felony called possession of methamphetamine, which has the possible penalty, 10 years in prison, and or $15,000 fine. And unless you were to be sentenced to more than 1 year in prison, Mr. Farrow, the court has to impose a license sanction where for any kind of a drug charge, if you're convicted, you lose your driving privileges through the Secretary of State. Can be 6 months for a first offense, can be up to 1 year suspension of your driving privileges if there's been a prior offense.
Okay.
The second charge they made against you from yesterday with whatever happened is they're charging you with fleeing a police officer. They're saying that as the operator of a motor vehicle to whom was given a visual or audible signal by hand, voice, emergency light, or siren by a deputy by the name of Anna Birkland, a police officer in uniform, and the officer's motor vehicle is identified as an official police motor vehicle, where she is acting in the lawful performance of her duty, directing you as the defendant to bring your motor vehicle to a stop. They're saying you did willfully fail to obey that direction by attempting to flee or elude the officer, and it did result in an accident. Now, this is a felony. It has the possible penalty of 5 years in prison and or up to $5,000 fine. The Secretary of State, as I said before, can suspend your driving privileges if you're convicted of the case. Any questions that you can think of?
No, ma'am.
The suspension they're talking about on a fleeing and eluding an officer is not to exceed 5 years. I'm not positive, Mr. Farrow. I'm pretty sure, though, that I was on call the other night when this happened, and I was the on-call judge to do a blood search warrant if they stuck a needle in your arm to take blood from you. I would have been the one that authorized that because, well, we all take turns of being on call 24/7, and I'm on call this week, but I didn't connect right now until I'm reading it, but that doesn't matter. It just means I didn't know they were charging you with this until today when I'm reading it. But it doesn't look like they charged you with operating under the influence or anything, so maybe this is it, because it's a big felony, of course. But you have the
Yeah.
right to remain silent. You don't need to talk about the details of the case. Anything you say orally or in writing can be used against you in court. You do have the right to have a lawyer present during any questioning that you would agree to talk about. If you do have money to hire an attorney, you can hire who you want. If you don't have the money to afford to hire a lawyer, the court will appoint one for you, because it is mandatory that you have a lawyer. When anyone is charged with a felony, they must have a lawyer. So they've got 2 dates set up for your case, October 28 and November 4. They're both Wednesdays, 2 weeks from yesterday, 3 weeks from yesterday. They happen to both be Wednesdays. They're at 11 o'clock in the morning, and your case is in front of my colleague, Judge O'Hara.
Okay.
The first appointment is called a probable cause conference, and you'd be able to talk with your attorney and know who that is, discuss the case with them. Then your attorney talks to the prosecuting attorney, and they discuss the case. Your attorney would fill you in on what's going on, and then you guys make a determination of whether you need the preliminary exam, which is that following week, November 4, it's a Wednesday. That hearing we call the preliminary examination. And it's a hearing where the judge is more involved, because there's testimony taken either by Zoom or in open court, where the testimony has to be showing, was there a crime committed? Is there probable cause to believe you committed the offense? So the bigger charge is the felony possession of methamphetamine. That's the 10-year. And then the fleeing and eluding is the 5-year. And you and your attorney would talk about all of that. Questions at all that you can think of, Mr. Farrow?
No, ma'am.
Is that South Mason Drive in Grant a good address for you to get mail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you work outside the home?
I do, yes.
What's your job?
I'm a line cook at Gipper's restaurant.
You mean Gipper's, the one out by Myers at Kraft?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I remember where that place is. I don't think I've ever been there, but I remember hearing it.
It's pretty good.
I'm sure it is. I talked to a lot of people that have been there. Is that something you've had for a long time?
Since about July, I've worked there.
Okay, so this summer.
Yeah.
You're out on bond right now in Clinton County,
Yes, ma'am.
and you have an attorney on that, because that's a felony, correct?
Yes.
They put down on the Clinton Township one, or Clinton County, whatever that is, that you failed to appear for a sentencing with them in August. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, they had scheduled me for a sentencing, and then the judge was ill, and they scheduled me the very next day, and they didn't inform
and
me.
you couldn't
And
do it?
Well, no, they didn't inform me in any way, shape, or form. My lawyer
So did
called
you
me.
talk with your attorney? Yeah.
I talked with my attorney, and they advised that I turn myself in. So I've been setting up with my work on what a good day for me to like turn myself in was, so if my boss could get my shifts covered and stuff like that.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you being forthright with me, but I'm just saying, from August 4 to today is October 15 to figure out what day to turn yourself in. It's a little bit longer than you should have gone, but I mean,
only
life
like 3
happens, and
people
I
that
get
work
that.
there, so yeah.
Right. Okay, they're talking right now, as far as the bond review they do, that they don't want to qualify you for a PR bond, but that's pretty standard when you have a pending felony and now a new charge. But Amanda Sturkenberg talked to you a little bit. She's an attorney, and she's with the Michigan Indigent Defense Council, and I want to give her an opportunity to say a couple of things. Go ahead, Ms. Sturkenberg. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thanks. I did speak with Mr. Farrow, and he was transparent with me as well about the situation in Clinton. And he shared with me about his employment. He also shared with me that he has ties to the community. He lives with his grandfather. And so while I recognize that the court does have concerns about reoffending and probably about risk to public safety, I would ask the court to consider a low 10% bond in this matter. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate it. Can you think of any other questions you might have, Mr. Farrow, about what I've explained to you? You will definitely be talking to an attorney. And the attorney you get on this case will be different than the attorney you have in Clinton County
Yeah, of
or
course.
Township. Okay.
I don't believe I have any questions.
Did you get fingerprinted?
Yes, ma'am.
And physically, my recollection, you were at the hospital the night of the accident. Were you physically injured?
I had like a
Banged
fat
up.
lip, and then I was like banged up, and my head hurt a little bit, but it's kind of
Banged up, but
it's just
nothing broken,
dissipated.
and you didn't have to have
No.
stitches or surgery or anything?
No, ma'am.
Well, thank God for that.
Yeah.
What I'm going to order here is we enter a plea of not guilty for you. Not being funny, but do you remember the 2 dates I gave you?
28th and the 4th.
Yep, October 28 and November 4. It's not a test, but I want to make sure when you get your attorney, you talk to him about those dates because they're both at 11 a.m. We'll either do them by Zoom because this is COVID time. We're doing a lot by Zoom, but you'll be notified so you know what's going on. We enter a plea of not guilty right now. I would have you report to court services if you make bond. Your bond is going to be a $10,000 cash surety bond. It's a lot. A $10,000 cash surety bond. You'll have to report to court services. I do not believe that Clinton Township or County, I'm saying it funny, would come over and get you, but I'm not positive about that. But
yeah,
it's pretty.
I mean,
they
I'm not
could
gonna be able
have
to
a
make
hold
that.
on you. They could have a hold on you where I don't have any authority to say, oh, you can get out of Kent County. But talk to your attorney when you get your attorney on this, or if you can call the attorney that you have, the attorney that you know, if you get a chance to talk to that attorney, let them know you're in Kent County Jail because it may count towards whatever you've got going on there. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
No illegal drugs, report to court services, enter a plea of not guilty, and it is a $10,000 cash surety bond.
Oh yeah, I'm
And
not
you
gonna be
did
able
tell
to
me you
make
got
that. So
fingerprinted, right? Tell me
Yeah.
again? Okay,
I'm
tell
not
me
gonna-
again. You're not gonna be able to bond it?
oh no, not at all.
Yeah.
So
All right, well, get a hold of your attorney and we'll give you a new
Yeah.
attorney here so you know what's going on with your current case.
all right, perfect.
All right, peace
Thank
to you. Thank you. Is that all you had then, Ms. Sturkenberg?
It is, Your Honor. So I would motion to withdraw from these 3 prior matters of limited scope representation.
All right. So the motion for withdrawal is granted on those 3. Thanks very much for your courtesy and you can log off.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Back to you. Is it Greg Haynes?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Haynes? I'm Judge Sara Smolenski. And Mr. Haynes, I've got a case where you were in custody for about 2 weeks on a retail fraud from the Walmart on Alpine Avenue. The case goes all the way back to March 6th. Today is October 15. So you're talking about 7 months ago. When you were in custody, I changed your bond to a PR so you would be released after you did the 2 weeks in jail. So they released you and gave you a date to contact our court about a pretrial conference. And when that date came this summer, August 25, we never heard from you. Now tell me this. You're back in jail now, obviously. Is it just on this, or are you in custody on something else?
I got like a misdemeanor. Me and a guy pushed each other down at mail charters, and I came in jail. That's what I remember.
So you got a current case for some kind of disorderly or an assault and battery that happened downtown, but you're in custody on that, and that's just recently?
No, that's been since summer, I don't know, June.
So
I'm in the
right
courtroom
now-
next door.
Okay, so right now, when it's Thursday, October 15 today, how long have you been in jail?
Since 2 days. Yesterday.
And those 2 days, when those 2 days happened, October 13 or whatever, just a couple days ago, When were you taken into custody? What was that for?
I got my own apartment in Grand Rapids. I called the police because this friend had my door key and I wanted it. And
Okay.
the police came and
Then they took you into custody when they learned what your
Right.
name was because you had this bench warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the last address I have, Mr. Haynes, is Benton Harbor. So tell me the address where your apartment is, where we can send you mail.
843 Baxter, Southeast.
Okay.
Apartment 2.
843 Baxter, Southeast, apartment number 2, GR Mish.
Yeah,
Zip code is
49506.
4906.
506, yeah.
Yep, I got you. 49506. Okay, now first I want to tell you, I've got nothing to do with your other case that you have from the Meltrotter. I got nothing to do with that because it's not our jurisdiction. I have a retail fraud second, which is a 1-year misdemeanor from the Walmart on Alpine. That's our jurisdiction, the Walmart on Alpine. So I got 2 misdemeanors against you. One is the shoplifting, 1-year misdemeanor shoplifting, retail fraud second, and one is the trespass, where Walmart, they're claiming, don't know the details, they're claiming that before this ever happened, they told you don't be on their property. You've never dealt with those 2 charges, and you need to deal with them. I'll schedule it for another pretrial.
Okay.
And I'll let you out of jail on our case. But Mr. Haynes, it's very important that you follow through with this. Because if you are a no-show again, they'll keep you in custody. I won't be able to release you. Today we'll say not guilty on the 1-year misdemeanor for retail fraud, not guilty on the trespassing, to set it for the pretrial for you to actually talk to the prosecutor. You can Zoom from home, you can call in on a phone, you don't have to have the video. You can call in, they'll tell you how to talk to the prosecutor, and then discuss how you're going to deal with these charges. Like everybody else, you know the right is plead guilty or not guilty. You did something, you didn't do something. I don't know the details. I don't remember back to March 6th or know anything about what happened at the Alpine Walmart. That's what you want to talk to the prosecutor about and resolve this case. You have a chance to do it on your own, or you have a chance to get an attorney. You can discuss that with the prosecutor. But if you don't contact them, if you don't contact the prosecutor when you're supposed to, or you say, well, I never got the mail at Baxter or something like that, you better be calling our court so you don't miss a beat. Because otherwise it's just going to be bench warrants against you again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks for hearing me out. I appreciate it. Don't forget.
Okay, I get something in the mail, right?
Yep. They'll talk to you before you leave the jail. They'll give you the paperwork before you leave the jail. It's 1,000 PR on this. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Did you get it? Mm-hmm. Is it Mr. Matt Perkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Perkins, I'm Judge Sara Smolenski. I've got 1 ticket with your name on it from May 12, 2019. That is a year and a half ago right now. A year and 5 months ago. A ticket near York Creek Apartments, near Alpine Avenue, in Alpine Township, for driving a 2008 Chevy while you were suspended. You pled guilty to it. You got fined for it. Fast forward to today, it never got paid for. Where are we at?
Right. That ticket I got I pleaded guilty to. I was parked in the parking lot. I was actually taking groceries out of the car, taking them in the house, and the officer came to my door. He waited and came to my door, and I had a warrant for something else, and arrested me on that ticket.
Why'd you plead guilty if your story is that you were taking groceries out?
That's what I told. That's what I told them.
Presumably, you'd been to the store to get the groceries.
I was getting the groceries out of the car,
Right.
he
But I
was
mean,
following another.
if they're thinking you were driving from the grocery store back to your apartment at York Creek and he catches up
Right.
with you later, I'm not arguing the details with you because I don't know them.
Right.
I'm just
Right.
saying you pled guilty in front of the judge.
Yeah,
You
it
pled
was,
guilty and said you were driving at some point
It-
that day. Whether it was
I
that moment in time or whether it was coming home from the grocery store, I'm not saying that the police saw you. I don't know why they even came to your house. Maybe
I
somebody
don't
else saw
either.
you.
I,
Right.
no,
But if
I
your
don't either.
position is, Mr. Perkins, you pled guilty, you got a fine, but you thought, you know what? I'm not paying that fine because I didn't do it. That's a
You know,
lousy way to handle your business.
No, ma'am, I totally forgot all about the ticket.
Okay.
Seriously.
So people do forget about their
Yeah.
ticket.
I
You
totally.
went to jail
I
on a
had
totally
so
different
much.
matter.
Yeah, I
You
went
went
to
to
jail on a
jail
different
on a
matter.
warrant that was other business.
Right.
And maybe it caused you to be more focused on that.
That-
Maybe it was
that's
more
what it-
serious. I don't know what it was. That you
Yeah, it
tend
was
to
a lot of
forget
stuff
about the
going on.
ticket.
Yeah,
I don't doubt
it was
it.
a lot. Yeah, it was
It's
a lot
called
of stuff
life.
going on in my life.
It's called
Yeah.
life, Mr. Perkins.
Yeah.
For any of us, there's a lot going on. But here's what
Right.
I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
You owe $424.
Okay, yeah.
Are you in custody right now on
I'm
anything
in
else?
Yeah, I'm in custody for failure to pay fines, and due to COVID, I was unable to pay fines because I couldn't get unemployment due to the time I was laid off, and I've been off
Yep.
currently for 2 weeks.
So how
I've been
long,
off.
how long are you going to be in jail on that other case?
I haven't went to court yet. I'm waiting to go
Do you know what
next
you
door
owe?
to. I got a
Ballpark?
total of $1,900 in fines. I mean,
And
I
what
think it's
court is
less.
it?
It's less than that because I paid some, but I couldn't
Okay.
pay due to COVID.
But
You
is
know,
it
I
fair
made
to say, our $424 has nothing to do with that 1,900 or whatever the other is?
yes.
So
It's-
do you know what court you're going to be talking to on that other case where there's a ballpark of
think-
1,900 owed or
I
less?
think I think it's less. It's less than that. It's
Okay,
less
but
than
what
that
court
because
is
I
it?
I think it's 61st. Is that 61st District Court? Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's my point.
Mm-hmm.
They might make you stay in custody. They might. I don't know. They
Uh-huh.
might make you sit right there on that 1,500 or 1,200 or 1,900, whatever it is.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If they make you sit in custody, then you better contact me so I can
Okay.
give you credit at the same time that you're in. Otherwise,
Okay.
I'm putting down that you owe $424 and you'll
Yes,
have
ma'am.
it paid by the end of the year. End of the year.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
not that much time when today is October 15, but I can't keep going on and on and on.
I
So I'll
understand.
say
I
end of
understand.
the year, 424.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get jail time and can't get out of jail from 61st, write me a
Right.
letter. Because then
63rd
I'll
District
let it
Court.
be at
Okay.
the same, then I'll let it be at the same
Okay.
time. We're
Okay, thanks.
63rd. You're talking
63rd,
about
yeah.
10 days on my case, 10 days, roughly $40 a day, $400.
Right.
If they're going to make you stay and you can't come up with the money, write me. Now, we're the
Okay.
63rd District Court, and
Okay.
I always do it like this. Our address is 1950, like the year. 1950 East Beltline.
Yes. East Beltline. Okay.
That's it. 1950 East
1950
Beltline.
East Beltline.
So
Okay.
send us a letter if you're sitting there. Otherwise, I won't know. 61st is not going to call me and tell me anything.
Right,
Not
right.
that it's bad. I mean, not that
Right.
that's bad on them. They do their business. We do our business. We're not.
Of
We
course.
don't say, oh, he's got tickets, and they just deal with it. But I'm not going to
Yeah.
hear. I'm not going to
Okay.
hear what happens with you in 61st unless you tell me.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr.
1950 East
Perkins.
Beltline.
Yep.
Thank you.
1950. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Is it Ms. China Sanders?
It is.
You don't get the award for the oldest case today, but you're close. Because your your cases go back to 2017. One was the date of June 28. So just say June 28 of 2017 to right now. That is 3 years and 4 months. So just say approximately 3.5 years ago. I mean, geez, I can barely remember what I had lunch for yesterday, let alone what happened 3.5 years ago when you get a ticket. But you got a ticket out of Plainfield Township near Hunsberger and Plainfield Avenue. I'm talking June 28 for driving suspended. Right. Then a month later, July 25, you got a ticket, and that Hunsberger and Plainfield is right where you were living. That's the address we had.
Yes, I was living on Hunsberger, yes.
Yeah. So then a month later, you get the exact same ticket. I don't know if the automobile was the same vehicle in both cases, because I didn't have, okay. So the 2006 Audi is the car they said you were driving when you did not yet have your full valid license back. So they call it suspended, restricted, revoked. You didn't have a full valid license. And so they wrote you in both of those, you pled to both of them, you got ticketed. I mean, of course you got ticketed, but you pled to both of them, you got fined. Fast forward to today, never paid the monies on them.
Yes.
So there's $465 times 2 for each case, a month apart. What's your main memory about not dealing? I mean, you pled guilty and you came to court, but how come you never took care of it after that?
It's actually a misunderstanding on my end, because I missed my court day and I came to see the magistrate down the hall, downstairs from you. Yep. And I was on I had a bond out of another county, and he upped my bond, and I thought that he upped my bond to $1,000, and I thought that me paying that was paying off my ticket on this end, because I was already bonded out from 61st district. So it was my fault, because I thought he did the bond so that it would go towards my fines.
I see. Okay, tell me, when you were dealing with J&J Bail Bonds Company for these cases, who's paying the money for that? Is that you or your family, your mom, your spouse?
My mother loaned me the money for it.
Is she still around? She's still in your life? You still talk to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Does she know you're in custody right now?
She does.
Okay.
She lives in North Carolina now.
She's in North Carolina? Well, she's got better weather than we do. Tell me, with you right now, are you in custody on something else?
I was just released on personal recognizance. I gave a false last name last night, but I was under the influence when I did it, so I really...
So now they charged you with false info, which is a misdemeanor, and you got to deal with that.
Yeah, he gave me a PR bond, yes.
I get that when you're under the influence, you might say some things that you later regret, and that could be that. I won't get into the details of the case with you, but they are charging you with that false info, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Even though you got released. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have you pay the $465 by the end of the year. Now, I don't know if it's feasible.
I can do that by the end of the year.
Okay, but let me say this. On the one case, that's the first one, there's an argument to be made that when you got the second ticket, it's even worse because it was a month later and you still didn't have your ticket cleared up and your license and all of that. But it's a month apart, and I'm just going to do it this way. The $465 has to be paid by the end of the year.
But for both of them,
the first one, file D17-02534. The second one, I'm only having you pay the non-waivable fees. That's $145. So I'm not going to have you pay the whole $465. So we'll waive whatever the balance is. I think it's like $320. So it's like
Okay.
$320 that I'm technically waiving. So I'm counting them both together. But
Okay.
$465 has to be paid by the end of the year.
Okay.
And then 145, I'll say end of January 2021. So it gives you a little bit of a time period. But here's
Okay.
what I'm saying, Ms. Sanders, and I'm not trying to cause problems. I'm not trying to be funny. And I asked you about your mom because, I mean, I don't know your mom at all. I'm sure she's a fine person. But I bet it's frustrating for her when she's got to help you with these bonds more than once,
It
more than
is.
twice. She's loaning you money. She's probably, I wish I could just talk to her right now and she could be on the phone because she'd probably be saying what I'm saying. Like, get your life together, Ms. Sanders. Start being stable. You're old enough as an adult. And I mean, driving suspended, I'm not talking about you robbing a bank. I get it. I get that you were just
Yeah.
driving when you didn't have your license. But you pile that on top, get another one, get another ticket. Then you don't pay them. Then it gets a warrant. And then you're
Yeah.
saying, you know, I'm Susie Jones and I'm not who you are. And then you get ticketed for that. I mean, enough.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. Under the influence or not. Maybe you got to think about that when you're drinking. Don't
Yeah.
put yourself in this position because you just are digging yourself into a hole.
Yeah. I
And
have
so
been.
your
You're
mom's trying to
absolutely right.
say, quit digging the hole.
Yeah. She actually
And
did
all
tell
I'm
me that.
saying, yeah. So all I mean, and I'm probably older than your mother, let's get real. But my point is this, you know better.
Yes.
You know better, so do better. Because you're wasting time, girl. You're wasting time. Being locked
I
up,
am.
it's not worth it. And you got better things to do. I haven't even asked you if you have kids. I don't even know if you have kids, and then I worry
I don't
about
have
that.
kids, but
Okay,
yeah.
well, whatever. You got to deal with what you got to deal with. I didn't know. Sometimes when I ask people about their kids, I can immediately make my point,
Yeah.
you know, because
Yeah.
look, it's not just you that's hurting. But I bring in
Right.
mom
But
up
it
because
is
I'm
my
sure
mother
she's
too,
sick.
though.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
it's not that you're a bad person. Nobody's saying you're a bad person. Just
Yeah.
start doing better because you can and you should. Okay?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, we're all
Now,
set.
do
PR
I
bonds on
come
my
down to the?
cases.
You muted me?
You can come down to our court.
Okay.
We are physically open. There is a drop box out front in terms of making payment. You also can mail it. If you're
Okay.
concerned about travel or COVID, you can mail it. We're trying to do as much as we can remotely. I
Okay.
always tell
That
people
was
our
my
address-
concern. If you guys were open.
Yep. Our address is 1950 East Beltline. And if you don't pay that one case by the end of the year, which is, 2.5 months, they're going to have a warrant out for you again and again and again. I'm just telling you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna clear it up.
All right.
I need to
just
get my
want you
stuff
to.
together.
All right. Thank you for your
Thank you.
courtesy. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.